Good morning, everybody. It's New Year's Eve here in southern Australia. We're in the Tasmanian capital of Hobart, and it's just about all over bar the shouting in the great race, the Blue Water Classic, the 77th Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. It's been a very memorable event, the 77th running of this annual celebration of the sport of yachting that brings yachtsmen and women from right around the world to compete in the great race. Peter Shipway has done it 31 times. It's been wonderful to have him sitting beside us today, Pete. All over bar the shouting, I say. There would have been a bit of shouting going on across the bars in Hobart last night.
Yes, good morning, Pete. Beautiful morning again in Hobart, and it's all but over. And as we're talking to you this morning, the 99 boats have finished, and there's one still to go.
And will that one boat finish before midnight?
Well, we're just having a look at the tracker now. There's Currawong, the two girls, Kathy and Bridget. They're off Maria Island. They've got about 80 miles to go. There's strong northeasterly breezes at Tasman. They've got about 25 to 30 knots, so they should be travelling pretty quickly down to Tasman. But then, of course, they've got to get across the bay and up the river. But all indications are she could make it just before midnight.
If they've got any feeling for drama, they will just stooge about a little bit if it looks like they're going to get in too early, because the reception that yachts that have come in the past near midnight on New Year's Eve has rivaled the reception that the winners have got earlier in the race.
Well, that's right, but I think no matter what, I don't think they'll be slowing down. I think they'll want to get here. But I think really this has been an incredible effort. They're two ladies of elderly age, you could say, Kathy and Bridget. They stopped for a short time in Eden, and it's a little boat, the second smallest boat in the fleet. It's a remarkable performance, really, and I think they will deservedly get a hero's welcome when they arrive here in Hobart, no matter what the time. And if they arrive around New Year's right on New Year's Eve and on midnight, it's going to be something doubly spectacular. But full marks to them. It's been an incredible effort to sail any boat to Hobart, crewed.
They're going to have some wonderful stories to tell,
Absolutely.
just like every single yachty that's competed in this event.
Yeah, it's a fantastic performance, and they're 100th, but you know, boy, they've really put their performance up there, and it equals the performance of all the other boats, really, when you look at it. And fantastic. I think it's the only word you can use, and they should be very proud of their performance, and I think all the other competitors will recognise that, and hopefully the reception here will be sensational for them, and deservedly so.
Hopefully you've been with us over the last 5 or 6 days following everything that's happened in this wonderful event. But if you haven't, or even if you have and you'd like to just relive some of the classic moments of the 77th Rolex Sydney Hobart, we're going to take you back to Boxing Day with that hectic start on Sydney Harbour, some of the wonderful visuals down the eastern coast of the Australian mainland and down the east coast of Tasmania to the finish here in Hobart. Let's just kick back and relive some of the wonderful vision from the Rolex Sydney Hobart in 2022.
Rolex Sydney Hobart. The Great Race South is on. Boy, this is close here.
Get speed on, guys.
Jib on, jib on, jib on.
Wow, Mark Roberts. Wow, terrific job.
Protesting! The leaders are now well into Bass Strait, with Andu Comanche leading the way.
They're only a couple of miles apart. Law Connect, Hamilton Island Wild Oats and Blackjack.
Andu Comanche is in the Derwent River.
50 metres to go, laying in beautifully to the finish.
A triumph for John Winning Jr. and his outstanding crew.
On the river, Celestial and Guaylo, the TP52s.
I couldn't let myself believe it until the announcement yesterday after the redress hearing.
think, Peter, the story of the race is in the sales that we saw in that package. We saw triple-headed rigs just after the start in Sydney. We saw more orange storm sails than I can remember, being used actually to race, not thankfully to save people's lives. Torn sails, spinnakers, it had the lot.
Yeah, spectacular in every respect, Peter. The scenery, of course, if you come across Storm Bay and Tasman Island, is just unbelievable, and those shots we saw there really summed the race right up, right from that dramatic start in the harbour to the fabulous finish here in the Derwent River.
Well, if you weren't with us at 1 o'clock the day after the race started, almost exactly 1.5 days into the race, the first period of the race is always dedicated to the Maxis and who's going to take line honours, and it was Andrew Comanche that crossed the line in the very dark early hours here in Hobart. 1.5 days in, just under 1 hour, 1 day and 12 hours was the race time. It wasn't a race record, but it was very meritorious all the same for John Winning Jr. and his crew on this flying Super Maxi, the fastest monohull in the world, and he was grabbed on the dock a few moments after the race to just reflect on his thoughts on the 2020 Rolex Sydney Hobart.
It's just quite incredible, really. It's just a dream come true. Since getting the boat, we just set our expectations on this race as the Everest or the pinnacle of what we can achieve with the boat in Australia, and it's just amazing to be able to do it with my dad, with my friends, my old friends, my new friends, and obviously, just the icing on the cake of an amazing year.
Andrew Comanche, I think built 2014, but
right.
Still at the cutting edge, really, when
Absolutely.
it comes to monohull ocean races. And John Winning Jr. very appropriately named, and he's taken line honours, and you could tell the pride in him and the work that his crew did to finally achieve that race win for him.
Absolutely. I mean, there was 4 of the 100-footers out there, and all very competitive, very, very good crews across them all, and they got home first, and it was, as you said, a meritorious performance.
And sort of bookending the race was the finish yesterday we saw from the oldest boat in the race, 90-year-old Maluka, made of appropriately Tasmanian hue and pine back in 1932, and young Peter Langman at the helm. Very emotional scenes down there on the dock. He's probably not as famous as his father Sean, but give him time. If you weren't with us then, let's just relive the scenes on the dock when Maluka came into a hero's welcome yesterday.
Sean, how do you feel as Maluka comes in having won Division 5?
I'm over words. It's just the most amazing thing. I'm so proud of Pete.
You've hardly made eye contact yet, though. He's got a bit of work to do.
Oh, yeah, he's nearly in. He just gave me an instruction, I pull a rope and stop talking. Well done, Chop. Just amazing, mate.
Dad's very proud. How are you feeling at the moment, Pete?
I was pretty exhausted. Pretty happy to be here. It was a good race, a little bit of everything. Some pretty nice champagne sailing at the start. Well done, mate.
Well done, mate.
Well done. Happy to.
Champion. You are a champion.
Well done.
Can you explain that to us, Pete? No, they haven't won the race. They've won a division. Both of them won their divisions. To the lay person, if you're not first across the line or you don't win overall handicap, why do you get so emotional about, just really being part of the pack?
Well, I think this boat was so different to all the other boats here. As you mentioned earlier, it's 90 years old. And it's a gaff rig. That means it's got another mast sticking off the main mast for the lay people. And this, we use incredible easily and a lot, but this was an incredible performance. They'll win their division on handicap. She's beaten a few boats home, but she's tiny, 9 metres. I mean, and old and slow, but boy, they've sailed a tremendous race. And Sean Langman there just knows how difficult this race is. It's difficult for the Maxis, it's difficult for all the boats. The handicap winners, it's a hard race, the Hobart race. There's no doubt about it. And this little boat, that's, it's an amazing performance to do so well, to even get here, but then get here in such good shape and to perform so creditably. Full marks to them. It's just a terrific performance.
And showing the intergenerational connections right through this fleet, isn't it? There's brothers, there's sisters, there's fathers, there's uncles on all boats.
Spread across the fleet, yeah. Some sail together, others don't. And obviously Sean and Peter sailed on separate boats, different boats, very much different. Sean was in a 72-footer and here's Pete in a 30-footer. But there's Rupert Henry and his father. Both sailed in different boats in the double-handed event. And we spoke to David Henry, sailed Philosopher, down. He's 79 in a two-hander. I mean, it's hard to get on an aeroplane.
What are you doing sitting here in this seat? You should be out there on the water, mate.
Maybe next year. No, I don't think so. But that just shows the stories of this race. And as you say, there's daughters out there, there's fathers, there's grandfathers out there. David's a grandfather. This race always throws up terrific stories, and it'll always do that. I think it's just such an iconic sporting event in Australia, and the great race in Australian ocean racing.
We talked to the Taylors from the Victorian entry, Schutzpaar, and that boat had over 200 Sydney Hobart's experience in the crew. Yesterday in Maluka, there were 2 first-timers in a tiny crew of only 6 on what is a tiny boat, of course. And one of them was Ockie O'Reilly, who is the soon-to-be brother-in-law of Peter, who was at the helm.
Well, there you go. There's another story, isn't it? Yeah.
And that was his first experience of ocean racing, really. He said he'd virtually never been outside Sydney Heads before.
Tough way to cut your teeth, but anyway, he'll have a story to tell, and I'd say that now he's here and having achieved and feeling very content, he'll probably have another go.
Yeah, but these sort of experiences don't come without a lot of background organisation, and it's something that, even yachtsmen probably aren't aware of what's going on in the background. And we're joined this morning by the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, the organising club, and down at the Hobart end here, the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania play their part, of course. Arthur Lane, good morning. It's nearly over. How do you sum up this great race in 2022?
Morning, Pete and Strippo. It's been one of the best races for a long time, I think. A really exciting, very strong Rolex to Sydney Hobart race. We are so happy with the results.
I talked about what goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. You owe a lot to volunteers, it must be said.
Yeah. Without the volunteers, this race could not be run. If I go right back to Sydney, we have volunteers down there as well. They get the yachts to the start line. But fundamentally, they're an 8 to 5 organisation. And then you arrive in Tasmania and you arrive in Hobart. And the organisation here is a 24-hour organisation. They're out there every hour of the day and night to bring in a yacht, make sure they get to the right berth, make sure they get the provisions needed. They are an extraordinary army of people, a great unsung army, and under, shall I say, the Field Marshal of Tracy Matthews. But you can't single out a single person. They all do an extraordinary job, and we are so proud of them.
Very calm scenes down at the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania this morning, Arthur, but the race centre's down there, and that's just buzzing, as you say, 24/7. And here on the docks at the Rolex Race Village, there's a lot of the public that want to be informed as what the yachts are doing. So you've got your volunteers here as well, who also shepherd the boats in with the tenders to their pens and hand over some goodies to our thirsty and hungry yachtsmen and women.
Absolutely, and they are just extraordinary. And they're so welcome, they're so professional at what they do. It's a great tapestry of the overall race, of all these people in the background. And we should give a shout out as well to the Rotary Club here in Hobart. They're looking after all the baggage, and they're a very trustworthy group. They make sure the baggage is there and it can be picked up and taken away by the sailors when they leave.
Yes, I was talking to Hayden Nielsen, well-known Hobart sporting personality and one of the state's leading Rotarians. And they've got a huge semi-trailer parked up in the executive building there in Hobart, and they're ferrying continuously gear back and forward to the boats.
That's correct. They really are. They're a great organisation. Again, unsung.
So the 78th, the preparations already underway for that?
I think we're giving Tara a day off today and tomorrow, and then we start organising next year's event.
Thank you.
It's important. It's very important.
Absolutely. Arthur Lane, thanks very much, and congratulations to you and the RYCT for the job you've done again this year. Peter?
Well, Arthur was referring to Tara there. She is the Sailing Secretary of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, and you just have to see the mountain of work that she and her staff get through, especially in the month of December leading up to the race. There's a million questions to be answered, and she answers them all professionally, and it gets the race away. You know, there's a lot of protocols around this race. You just don't turn up on a week before Christmas and say, I'm going to Hobart. You know, there's safety protocols, there's crew protocols, there's a lot of registration, because safety is the paramount thing in this race, and so it should be. But that sailing office, both here in Tasmania, but especially in Sydney before the start, it's an enormous amount of work, and they've got to, as Arthur said, got to be congratulated. Well, everyone's got to be congratulated, but certainly the sailing office, gee, they do a terrific job, and under a lot of pressure.
I referred to the goodies being handed over to the yachties when they get in here. There's always a slab of Cascade, the local product being shipped on board, and John Mullavey, a mate of mine, was there in the early hours yesterday. They're working here because the yachts are coming in, of course, 24/7. And he said one of the French entries was so delighted with the beer, but said, "Where are the croissants?"
Maybe next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Come back for next year. Yeah.
It's sounding like a nice combination, beer and croissants in Hobart at Christmas, New Year. The dust settling a little bit now, Peter. What for you have been the highlights in 2022?
Well, this race, I think, always has highlights. Hopefully they're good highlights. Sadly, there's been some lowlights, I guess, but this year it's been very much a success on the water. I think, obviously, the win of Celestial was a highlight, especially Sam has been so close before, Sam Haynes and his crew, I think. A stellar performance, and I think that would be widely applauded by the yachties. Andrew Comanche, as we mentioned earlier, line honours, outstanding as well. But it's just not the winners. I mean, we mentioned earlier Currawong, still out there. That, to me, would be a real highlight if these girls get in, and looks as though they will. Maluka, smallest boat, gets in great shape. To see Kealoha coming up the river the day before yesterday in full glory, you know, mizzen spinnaker, mizzen, big spinnaker, a boat that is so old, built in 1964. I mean, those sort of things.
Made of aluminium.
Yeah.
What's that? Boats aren't made of aluminium anymore.
I mean, there's highlights everywhere.
Sorry, sailing boats.
That's
of course,
right.
Tassie is the epicentre for aluminium boats with Incat.
Yes, indeed. But, you know, you could go through the fleet. But I think also the two-handers, this time integrated into the full fleet. And you'd have to highlight Mistral's performance, Rupert Henry and Greg O'Shea. Solid throughout, some damage. They nearly lost a rudder. They thought they'd have to retire, but they got here in good shape and to win the two-hander division. So, you know, the two-handers...
Do you think there's ever a possibility that a two-hander could win on overall corrected time?
Absolutely.
Which this year they were eligible to do.
Absolutely. They've won the Fastnet in England overall, the two-handers. Yeah, they're a big chance. And Rupert, I mean, what stopped the two-handers this year was that they hit the southerly a little bit up the Tassie coast. If they'd kept running to Tasman and got across the bay, they could have easily won it. And I don't think there's any shadow of a doubt in the future years we'll see a two-hander winning the overall prize, the Tattersalls Cup. There's a million stories in this race, as there is every year. But this year was another stellar year, and I think Rolex have got to be handed a lot of credit to get the standard of this race up to what it is. They've been a great supporter for 20 years odd now.
I think this is the 20th
year.
We've got the green shirts in honour of that.
Yeah, and I think they're back next year, and they'd have to be
They also
delighted.
sponsor the Fastnet, which you mentioned. Maluka's going over to compete in the Fastnet race.
As is Kealoha, yeah. And I guess Sunrise, the little boat that came out from England that won the last Fastnet race, she's going back to compete. The Fastnet is held every 2 years as opposed to our great race that's held every year. But Rolex have been a major sponsor of major ocean races around the world. They've got the Middle Sea race and the Fastnet, as you mentioned. So their support cannot be underestimated.
Peter Shipway, it's been wonderful to have you with us again. You really, if you weren't already, are enthroned as the voice of the Rolex Sydney Hobart yacht race. No lesser authority than Gordon Bray has said that. He's not with us this morning because he's got a bit of homework to do.
Yes, I left him this morning. He's preparing for the presentation this afternoon at 3 o'clock, the official presentation. But, Peter, it's been a pleasure to be with you and Gordon and everyone down here. Everyone's been so kind as they normally are, and it's just been an absolute delight. So maybe, if I can, I might come back next year.
Oh, I don't. It's just an open invitation, Pete. We love having you down here in Hobart, just as we've loved having you wherever you've joined us around the world for a short or a long time. It's been our great pleasure to bring you the coverage of the 77th Rolex Sydney Hobart to you once again. We look forward to your company again next year, but it wouldn't happen without the mighty work of the Hype TV team, who... they're beaving away all hours of the night and day as well. Back in the editing suites in Battery Point, down here at the docks, under the directorship of Dave Flower. Congratulations, girls and boys, the drone crews. You know, we've got it all covered, and the coverage is getting better and better every year. So. Our kudos, they make us look good here, Pete. So it's nice sitting in this chair, isn't it?
Yeah, they've made our job very easy.
Thanks, everybody. Look forward to your company again for the 78th Rolex Sydney Hobart in 2023. For the last time this year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year and goodbye from Hobart.
Rolex Sydney Hobart. The Great Race South is on.
Boy, this is close here.
Get speed on, guys.
Jib on, jib on, jib on.
Wow, Mark Rolex. Wow, terrific job.
Protesting! The leaders are now well into Bass Strait, with Andu Comanche leading the way.
They're only a couple of miles apart. Law Connect, Hamilton Island Wild Oats and Blackjack.
Andu Comanche is in the Derwent River.
50 metres to go, laying in beautifully to the finish.
A triumph for John Winning Jr. and his outstanding crew.
On the river, Celestial and Guaylo, the TP52s.
I couldn't let myself believe it until the announcement yesterday after the redress hearing.